And there we are. That was quick. That was like the quickest
was.
going live that we've ever
It
had, I think.
was. It really
Not that we're
was.
on time. I scheduled it for noon, but the actual button. So anyway, hey everybody, Joshua Hoffert here with Wind Ministries, and I'm here with someone many of you will recognize. He's quite a familiar face in these parts of the interwebs, and you've probably seen him many times. And it's my dad, Ken Hoffert, and
Hello.
we are here. We're talking about the ConteXtus online leadership conference. I'm just going to take a second and share the video. So, there we go.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, and my dad will do that too. He knows the deal. So yeah, we have an online leadership conference coming up in just a couple of days. ConteXtus, the online leadership conference is March 23rd, 24th, and 25th. On the 23rd and 24th, that's this coming Thursday and Friday, and those sessions will be in the evening, 7 Eastern to 9 Eastern on Thursday and Friday, and then on Saturday, 10 Eastern all the way to 4 till 5 Eastern, I think is the time. But you can find that all on you can find all the times.
You'll have to say that again because I'm just now getting this shared.
Yeah, well, he's just getting
it in a minute, but sometime in the context of this.
Yeah, of course. Well, all the information is on the link. The link is in the video description. So ConteXtus is a term that we've been using for the last few years, especially as we started seeing more and more conversation around movements within Christianity that were called convergence movements. And convergence meaning that we all come together and we kind of form this new body of new ethos or new practice, and this is who we are and this is what we do. But the thing that we noticed is that in the context of coming together, especially in Scripture, when you look at, say, the 12 apostles coming together, that they didn't form an amalgamous body of people. They were all different. Yeah. They were very unique, right? They all walked together in the context of who they were, the uniqueness they were created, the gift that they were to the body. And they had their disagreements, right? They had their conflicts. Peter and Paul chastising Peter for who he was. So they had to learn relationally to walk together in the context of their individual calls. And so ConteXtus, leaders learning to walk together to be who they're called to be, the unique role in the kingdom of God, in the sphere of society, the sphere of life that they've been given to be. Whether that's in local church ministry context, from teaching in a Sunday school classroom to all the way, not a scale of importance, but just different roles, to the CEO managing a multi-million-dollar company.
True.
All of those are ways that we fulfill our call as emissaries and ambassadors of Christ in the kingdom of God, and we hold ourselves in context of everyone else we're walking with. And so, with that said, the leadership is a challenging thing, and some people are, they can feel a leadership call in their life. Paul talks about this in Romans 12 when he says some are called to leadership. And so they feel a leadership call in their life, but they don't know how to walk into that. And maybe they've spent their whole life being misunderstood or trying to grasp after position and wondering, why haven't I been recognized? And to some people, it comes totally natural, is just stepping into that, and I'm just going to lead and people are going to follow. There's that old adage too that says, if you are leading and no one is following, then you're simply going for a walk. I like that one. That's pretty funny. And so we thought with the ConteXtus Leadership Conference, we would address a number of the pertinent issues that are germane to leadership. Leaders ask these questions, whether they're leading a greeting team at church, whether they're leading a church of 10,000 people, or whether they're leading a CEO leading a organization, or a sales manager navigating a sales staff. every one of us struggle with different issues as it pertains to leadership. And so we've got multiple topics that we're going to address with experts speaking on those topics. I think they're experts anyway. I introduced you guys that are out there a couple weeks ago to a friend of mine, or about a week ago, a few days ago, to a friend of mine named Brian Barnett with Kingdom at Work, who is the CEO of a company and down in Dallas. He's an awesome guy. My dad's met him as well. And he's going to be talking about how do you look at your organization and identify areas of concern in terms of how you structure your organization. We've got a special guest speaker that's going to be coming on that is anonymous because he's in a kind of the position where you don't want people to know his name. But he's been serving on the missions field for the last 25 years, inspiring leaders to not get stuck in maintenance mode. How do you get out of maintenance mode? Because it's so easy just to fall back into the rhythms of, well, this is what we do and this is how we do it. And we've got a double header on Friday night of my friend Murray Dewick and my friend Dr. Hank Visser. And Murray will be talking about how does suffering or trials forge and shape who we are as leaders. And then Hank will be following that up with a conversation about how, and he's a doctor that's been a doctor for 40 years. He's retired from his practice, but he's been working in the context of medical professionals and medical leaders. And he's on the forefront of research and studying some of the latest research. But one of the things he's going to talk about is how the latest research really shies away from characterizing anxiety as a mental disorder because it's a spectrum. It's not just a you're in or you're out. And so how do we as leaders who wrestle with anxiety, who wrestle with our mental health, and then are also expected to care for the spiritual needs of others and the health of others. And so how do we do that? How do we navigate that personally? And then how do we navigate that within the context of leading in business and ministry, whatever, in every sphere of life? And so we've got my head pastor, Tracy Linkletter. She'll be speaking on navigating between the sacred secular divide. Because, I mean, the trick is that there's not really a divide, but we think of the divide. Right. We think we put a perceived divide there. And she's spent 20 plus years managing retail outlets and she actually spent 10 years managing a large Apple store in Edmonton, Alberta. And many employees, and now she's a head pastor. So how do you do that? That's a big transition from navigating the retail world to navigating the people world, and that's actually not that big of a transition, but it seems like it, right? Yeah. So all kinds of fresh topics and presentations that'll be very helpful. Questions that you have, we'll have Q&A, that kind of stuff. So the purpose of this video today is to introduce you. Most of you already know him over here. My dad, Ken Hoffert, because we have the same last name. Yes. I've asked him to talk because I think he's a bit of an expert on the topic, having navigated different inner healing ministries, different healing prayer ministries, having one of the significant things you did for 8 years, you hosted an outreach event at a large farmers market and reached into the college age community. Right. Yeah. And were really impactful in mentoring college age people before they even knew that they were being mentored and being discipled and taught. And many of them struggling with coming to grips with how do I actually live my life from a place of joy. Yeah. That's a big question that people have, but and having been catalyst for home groups and house churches and overseeing that kind of stuff, 40 years of experience in that area. And so my dad has been researching and studying and helping people move from a life of fear to a life of joy. And so I asked him to come on and talk about how do we go about developing joy, people that are fueled by joy, not because the contemporary society is fueled by fear. And one look at the news feed and your whatever your favorite news app will tell you that's all fear. Yeah, it's all fear. Right. Because the brain's wired in such a way to be inspired by fear. And so, but that's not what the Gospels bring us to, So, Dad, what words of comfort and wisdom in a few minutes would you have for people, and why should they come to the ConteXtus Leadership Conference?
Well, two things come to mind, and we'll get back to the primary one and start with the secondary one, and that's what does it look like to be who would be considered a leader, and we have to just consider for a moment the metaphors that are used in the New Testament of what church is. So a lot of times we can say leaders in business, leaders in this, whatever. We understand what that means. You're a
Sure.
CEO or a middle level manager or whatever it is, but you're leading in some context. But we get into church and leadership roles get really confused because we have structures in place. So many systems try to emulate corporate structures, but the metaphors that are used in the New Testament, especially by Paul, are things that pertain to families and marriage and all of this sort of thing. It's all relational type language. How do we connect together and then walk down the same road? And so leadership is more about the role of someone helping a family to get from one place to another.
Right. That's really good.
Yeah. So if you are in the process of helping someone else get to someplace else, you're just walking with them, whether they be in pain or whether they have issues that they've never addressed in their life and they're coming to grips with. Whether they're going through a season of mourning or something of that nature, and you're helping someone walk through that, which is what we do every day in our family church life. Then you're a leader, because you're walking someone from one place to another. And so within that context, learning how to navigate those changes and where you're going is probably the most critical thing.
Yeah.
And so do you qualify? More than likely, yes.
Right. Yeah, that's right. That's really good. Just to shout out Randy. I see it's great to see Randy on, and Randy Michelle, pastors down in New Brunswick and good friends. Jim DePriest, you can steal that to your heart's desire. Yeah, that's right. I put the link, by the way, to the ConteXtus conference in the chat. So if you're interested, if you're tuning in and you're interested in what this is all about, there's a link there to take a look at 8 different sessions, 8 different presenters, finishing it all up with a panel discussion at the end. There'll be Q&A exercises, good content, helpful content. Some of the presenters have been sending me their slides and things, and there's some really good stuff in there. So take a look at click the link and take a look at it there. So back to my dad.
So if we talk about the influence of joy, we have to first kind of define joy, which we'll do when we talk about it.
Come to the conference to hear the definition.
Yes, exactly. But joy, is joy just feeling good about something? Having a bubbly, effervescent expression coming up inside of you. And if that's the case, then how can you engage in joy? If joy is only something that comes to you unbidden, then you can't really find a way to live out of joy. And yet, the funny thing is, and we read Hebrews, and it was Jesus who, for the joy set before him, endured a lot of misery.
Yeah.
That, to me, that's always a fascinating statement. Who, for the joy set before him, put up with stuff that killed him.
Yeah.
So how can joy be this bubbly feeling if I have to endure all of this misery? If joy gets me through living through all of this misery, then what is joy?
Right. Because in the misery, the bubbly, effervescent feeling probably isn't consistently there.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So joy is something incredibly powerful because it motivated Jesus to go through the process of the cross, and as we we prepare ourselves. We're coming up on Easter, and we're looking. A lot of people are doing Lent, doing their Lent thing, and they're focusing on Jesus. And we've been talking through some of that as we do Coffee with Ken on Wednesday mornings. My plug.
Which you can also check out at the Wind Training Academy.
Pardon me. But there is this thing called joy that motivates in life and gives us the ability to get through the difficult times. Yeah. So what is it? What's joy?
Right.
That's how do we walk in joy, and how do we live with joy? And sorry about that.
Sometimes living with joy is learning to turn off the cell phone.
Which I forgot to do. I'm in my office, so
I'm not commenting on a ringing while you're on the live stream. Just saying that those things can be super distracting. Yeah.
So joy is something we want to look at, and I love the definitions that come out of the Life Model Works guys.
Yeah.
And which we'll talk about. But I also love one of the things that underpins a lot of that is the steps of maturity in life, how we move from infancy to elder, and the five significant key shifts that are what our brain is engaging in. So our brain makes these major shifts in time as we grow up, and from infancy to childhood to young adult to parenting to elder, and these shifts are all major moments where the brain makes a transition, and there are things that we learn in each of those stages that prepare us for the next.
Yeah.
But when we don't have the skill set that we've learned because nobody taught it to us, so we missed things in one. How do we get back to those places that solidify our hearts and give us the ability to live without anxiety, without pain, without we're always going to endure some level of pain, but how do we live in a way that we can have joy,
right,
bubbling up inside of us, not based on a feeling, but because it's something inherent in us that we can then endure the pain that gets us to the place of great completion and victory, which is exactly what Jesus did.
Yeah, and that's the question.
So how do we get to the end?
Yeah, how do we get to the end? I can tell you how to get there. Come to the ConteXtus online leadership conference and listen to my dad speak. So the leadership conference, that's awesome, Dad. I'm excited because I get to be, I've all be my friends and my dad, and I get to listen to them talk about all the things that I think are super important and valuable. So I'm very excited about that. So we will we can call it. We'll wrap it up at that. You can take a look at the conference by clicking on the link. As with all these things, if finances are an issue and you can't afford the registration, please just send us a message, and we're more than happy to work with you. Yeah. We have so many good presentations coming Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Take a look at the link, and it's going to be a great time together. All the sessions will be recorded, so they'll all be made available shortly after each session. Take a look at the link.
So just a little hint. Back behind me is a little paint. Oops, move the other way. There it is. By one of my granddaughters. That is kind of the basis of having joy. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
There you go. All right.
I'll leave it there.
More to come. Great to see David Boda on. David, you should check out the leadership conference. I think David is definitely a leader, and he's working through how do you influence people. I know we've had lots of conversations about that. So check it out, David. Wonderful to see you. Okay, Dad. Well, we'll call that a wrap. I know you've got other things to do today.
Get back to work.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the 23rd, 24th, 25th. Take a look at the link. ConteXtus Online Leadership Conference. Going to be a fantastic time together. Yeah, and looking forward to seeing everybody there. And David, you are awesome. So there we go. Let's chat soon, David. Send me a text. Let's connect. It's been a while. Okay.
Right.
Well, everybody,
Right,
we have a couple more of these we'll do, introducing our key speakers. And so you can look for us going live in the next day or two as we rush towards our first session at the ConteXtus Online Leadership Conference. So looking forward to seeing everybody there. Until next time.
All right.
All righty. Bye.